Welcome to another edition of Jet Setting. It's Ken Weeb, Scott Billick with the Winnipeg Sun. Kenny, the Jets are coming off a bit of a disastrous 5-4 loss to the New York Islanders on Thursday night. It's the third time this month, I think, now that they've kind of blown a lead and late too. It's so late in the season. Is there some cause for concern at this point, given what's happened here?
Well, if the tone of Paul Maurice's voice in his post-game commentary was any indication, yes, I would say the Jets have to be at least a little bit concerned. Yes, as Blake Wheeler has mentioned on several occasions, it's a learning experience for them, and the Jets would rather have it happen in March than in April, May, or June. But having said that, now the Jets have 5 outright losses and 3 extra time losses in either a shootout or overtime where they've had the lead after 40 minutes. Championship teams lock games down. I mean, the Jets still have won 24 games out of that stretch, but 8 games is a lot of games to not be able to bring home. And it's the things that we've noticed that are happening. It's just not an isolated incident for the Jets right now. It's their puck management has not been good enough, and their defensive zone coverage has not been good enough. 2 prime examples. The Jets were unable to clear the puck on the Casey Cizikas goal on several occasions, and then they got kind of running around. And then on the game winner from Jordan Eberle, both Jets defensemen got caught behind the goal line. Yeah. They both went to Matt Barzal, and Barzal got it in front, and Eberle was all alone. I mean, these are things that in the last minute and a half or 2 minutes of a game that can't happen in the postseason if a team wants to go deep. So, yes, there is certainly some element of concern. I mean, it's not the end of the world for the Jets, but having said that, we know they're in a race for first place in the Central, and they need to tighten up if they want to win games or go on any sort of playoff run.
And maybe let's expand on that. I mean, they're obviously that race is getting tighter given that the Jets have now lost. Nashville's winning, Dallas is winning, St. Louis is winning. All these teams are kind of creeping up. Is there maybe now a worry that the Jets might not finish in first after maybe a week ago it looked like it was kind of a foregone conclusion after they beat the Nashville Predators?
Well, I mean, the Jets obviously are going to have to win at least 3 games, I think, probably in order to get to that next level. And if they don't, I mean, is it at the end of the world if they don't finish first? Well, no, but I think they want to feel, more importantly for the Jets, they want to feel good about themselves going into the playoffs. And they probably felt good about a chunk of the game, but again, they let the game kind of slip away in the second period with a turnover that led to a too many men on the ice penalty. Again, they had a 2-goal lead in the second period. They weren't able to hold either. And then after Mark Scheifele put them up once again, they didn't bring it home. So they certainly are. There is an element of concern about first place. The Jets have been a dominant home ice team these last 2 years, but at the same time, fresh in their memory, they won a Game 7 on the road in Nashville. So it's not the end of the world, but there are certainly things the Jets need to tighten up on if they want to finish in first place, or even have home ice advantage at all in the first round based on how those other teams are chasing them.
The Jets are going to now have to face the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday. A desperate team lost Thursday night in a big loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're fighting just to get into the playoffs and keep their spot. The Jets may have Dustin Byfuglien back for the game. It looks like that's how it is. Based on that, I mean, how big is Byfuglien's return to the lineup, and how much can that kind of propel the Jets to kind of maybe get back to a better defensive game, just a better team later on in the game too, when they have a little more experience, I guess, on the back end?
Yeah, one thing we've really noticed just from even at practice, Dustin Byfuglien, the mood is different when he's around. The mood is different in the room. We're not in there, but we know he's joking around, but he's also an intense individual. They miss him. There's no 2 ways about that. The Jets defense corps has done an adequate job with him and Josh Morrissey being out, but you take away the top 2 defensemen from any hockey club, it's going to have an impact. So the Jets expect Byfuglien to be back soon, and he'll help in so many different areas. His puck movement, his defensive zone play, his ability to run the top on the power play, all those things have been kind of glaring in some of those losses that we talked about earlier. And you're also going to have a motivated Dustin Byfuglien. Here's a guy that was playing at almost a Norris-type level. Obviously, Mark Giordano and Morgan Riley were ahead of him at the halfway point, but we know he was one of those guys that was in the conversation. So if you can get a guy like that back for the last 4 or 5 games, obviously it's going to make an impact. And for him, he wants to play. He's rested and ready to go. He knows what it takes to win, and he provides such a stabilizing force on the back end. So I think that's where the Jets will get their biggest boost once Bufflin and eventually Morrissey do return.
And let's just quickly touch on secondary scoring. Obviously, Adam Lowry has a big game despite the loss. Brandon Tanev gets a goal. Jets are getting those goals. How important is that leading into the playoffs? And maybe do they need just to start getting a little bit more from, especially that top line?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, this is one of the games where the third line basically carried the Jets. Yes, Scheifele got a power play goal, but the third line was generating all of the zone time. They had 3 goals. And now they're up to 11 forwards in double digits. I mean, that's an impressive number. We know Kevin Hayes only had 4 of his 14 here with the Jets, but let's not forget Brendan Lemieux had 9 goals himself before he left. So I think it's allowed to say the Jets had 11 double-digit guys, and that's impressive among a forward group if you can have that much spread out and balanced scoring. But at the same time, I mean, we know that the Jets' newly formed second line was very good against Nashville, but it's been a little bit quiet for Kevin Hayes, Patrick Laine, and Kyle Connor since that game. So Jets need their best players to be good, and they need those secondary guys to be chipping in as well.
Yeah, one more game left before the Jets head on the road to end the regular season. This has been another edition of Jet Setting. For Ken Weep, Scott Billick. Thanks for watching.